Hey guys, Coach here. Thanks for taking a couple minutes to join me this week. I hope your work week went fantastic and you got a lot of good things happening for the weekend. Hey, I can remember way back when linking up with a family friend and going out and looking for my first house. I was excited. I was nervous. I was nerve-wracked. I remember being very anticipatory. And I remember looking at about 6 or 8 homes before we finally put an offer in on one. That home happened to be about 3 blocks from my grade school and about 5 miles from where I grew up in Hayward, California. Hey, you know, when I got to the house, I can remember looking at the real important things, you know, like 2-car garage, nice fireplace, big ass backyard. That's what this guy looked at the ripe old age of 24 years old. Yeah, the other half, nah, she was looking at kitchen and bathrooms and bedrooms. And because we had the first one on the way, which bedroom was going to be the nursery? Hey, this week I am going to bring you up to speed on my top 5 landscape checks and concerns if you're out looking for your first house. Hey, take a minute, enjoy the Appalachian Mountains that are behind me right now, and if you would, stay with me till the end. Maestro, do me a favor, put the chai tea latte away, and let's get that quick intro out of the way, shall we? Hey, I'm Matt, and you can call me Coach. Every week I bring to you guys landscape concepts, design theories, and pro tips, and I hope an easy to understand format so you guys can tackle landscape projects yourself, get professional results that you want, save a boatload of money in the process, and be very self-reliant in this day and age. Hey, you know, after a 20-plus year career as a successful landscape designer, landscape contractor, retail nursery manager, educator, and educated in ornamental horticulture, I think I really bring a lot of knowledge and experience that I want to impart on you, the new self-reliant modern homeowner of today. So there I was many moons ago, the ripe old age of 24 years old. I had a new career going, I had a new baby on the way, and now I'm having to shop for a house. Hey, has anybody been in my shoes before? Looking back on it, I would say that the best of neighborhoods, no, it was not. It was not the best of neighborhoods. But sometimes, you know, you first-time home buyers, you gotta get what you can afford. Am I right? Anyway, like I said in the intro, I looked at about 6 or 8, put in an offer on 2, and before long, we were in escrow with the seller. A whole nother kettle of fish that you can go through. Just before the end of escrow, we did our usual real estate walkthrough, right? We're going to check out everything, make sure everything that we addressed in escrow had been taken care of, was repaired or replaced, and suddenly we had the moving truck backing in the driveway. Oh, what a day I remember that was. Then, after you're living out of boxes for that first week or two, you're putting stuff away and you're trying to make this new house your home, that's when I started realizing some things. That's when I started realizing I didn't see cracked sidewalks. I didn't see a lifted driveway from a camphor tree that had been planted too close. I didn't notice the overgrown backyard with the failing retaining wall, the palm tree that was lifting up the whole lawn area. And I asked myself, how in the Sam hell did I miss this? How did I miss that stuff? I saw this house 3 times before I even carried a cardboard box through the front door. Yeah, you know, first-time home buyers, even second and third that you will learn here in a minute. First-time home buyers, we get so distracted. We get wrapped up in emotion, trying to bond to this particular property. We're listening to your significant other or the kids. We're listening to the so-called real estate professionals, and we get distracted. And being the first time, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. I hope you agree with me there. So, was I blind? Yes, I was. Yes, I was indeed very, very blind. You know, I would even go as far as to use the term ignorant. Not necessarily in a bad way, just that we don't know what we don't know. And going into it, you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb here just a little bit. And there's a lot of good ones out there, don't get me wrong. But you know something? The real estate agent I had, the only thing she cared about was, let's make an offer and move on to escrow. Let's get this thing closed and you two can get into your new first house. That was it. You know, and like I said, after a couple weeks, I didn't see the sidewalks. I didn't see the broken valves on the sprinkler system. I didn't see the palm tree that was starting to lift things, the camphor tree that was starting to crack the front driveway, the walkway leading up the side of the back, which was all split from the neighbor's tree, the retaining wall that was failing, the sun porch at the back of the backyard that was falling down. I never saw these things. And how come they didn't, you know? But hey, buyer beware, right? So after my second house, I moved on to my third house. And by that time, I was in a brand new home and I had a little bit of experience by now. So there was many things that I looked for and checked off to make sure that we're right before occupancy. But right now, I'd like to share with you my top 5 in kind of a reverse order of importance of things that I'd like you to check out if you're just now taking over a new home purchase or you're thinking and you're out there shopping right now. So, in reverse order, let's start with number 5, shall we? Number 5 is take a look at big, huge, beautiful trees in the yard. Now these things are glorious, and oftentimes when they're well taken care of over the years, they can add thousands and thousands of dollars in value. But big trees can also be a heck of a liability to structures, fences, people, roofs of your neighbor's house. So take a look at those things in close scrutiny. You know, the first winter you spend there and you've got this magnificent sprawling oak tree or beautiful maple tree, and some really freak storm comes through and breaks off a major branch and puts it through your family room, you're going to wish you had looked at that way early on. Big trees can also be a heck of a hazard as far as patios, like I just mentioned, walkways, driveways, even infiltrating things like leach fields, septic tanks, and foundations. So be very, very aware of beautiful, large, and sometimes overgrown big trees on the property you're thinking about buying. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is slope and grade. Slope and grade is kind of a weird topic to think about when you're looking at a piece of property to buy. But I have seen countless times in my own experience, including my first house, and many clients that I've visited, when they have a big piece of property, but well over half of it isn't usable because it's a slope like this, and it's overgrown with ivy and poison ivy and bushes and huge trees. And yet here you are paying for maybe a half acre and you can only use 5,000 square feet of it. So consider slope and grade, not only from aesthetic values and usability, but also from the fact of water, which we will cover very soon. Water, views of people looking down into you, or if you're the one up high and you've got a very steep backyard drop off, what can you use it for and what are you looking down into? So hillside slopes and grades, make sure foundations are checked very, very scrupulously when you look at those properties. Hillside grades can be very shifty at times, so we don't want foundations with foundation cracks and that stuff. All right, moving on to number 3. How about irrigation systems? Irrigation systems are a very usable, very productive way of taking care of our landscapes. Irrigation costs to repair or replace can run into the hundreds and even thousands of dollars if a big one needs replacing. Make sure when you do your initial visit, if there is one, just go out there and do a cursory check of it. Look for the valve assembly. If it's in an underground box, lift up that lid. If it's anti-siphon valves in the front of the house, check out to make sure all the wires look wired up correctly. Make sure there's no dripping from it, and obviously no cracking from freezing. I have been called upon many a time for property inspections when it came to irrigation over the years. I'd go out there and inspect it for, say, like an hour. I'd make a little bit of cheddar, but for the most part, it was an escrow check to make sure the system was functioning, it was in good shape, how much longer it was expected to last, what was the electrical connections in the timers versus the valves, and did they turn on manually and automatically with the timer. Irrigation is a big, big component of an outdoor landscape, so make sure you pay attention to it just a little bit. Number 2 is the overall condition of the outdoor landscape of the property you're considering. Overall landscape condition can be one of those things where it looks good on the surface, but on closer scrutiny, you can see things that are hugely overgrown. You can see patios that are not of a good condition any longer. You can look at bushes and trees that are hiding windows, or like I said in number 5, leaning places. How much work and how much cost is involved to the overall condition of the landscape? What feel do you get? You guys are considering living there. Walk out that family room, and what is your very first impression? Very first impression is so important. You may go, ick, or you may go, oh wow, this is really nice. And maybe it'll take you 5 minutes to stand there and actually look at it to get a true sense of it. So look at the overall condition. Are the beds nicely maintained? Or are you gonna have to go in there with a chainsaw just to find your back fence? All of this results in costs down the road, and it may affect your offer overall. So remember, overall condition of the outdoor landscape. I can remember my third house that I bought. It was a brand new home now. Hey, I'm moving up in the world, huh? A brand new home in a brand new subdivision. I was so proud at the ripe old age of 29. Now with a little bit of homeowner experience underneath my belt, I approached this particular purchase with a little bit of forward thinking. I knew that I was going to have to landscape the front yard and the backyard myself. I couldn't afford to have someone come in and plunk down $25,000 and do it. So I added on to the cost of the original home loan by about $6,000. That amount allowed me to plan it, design it, and implement it all in about a 9-month period. The only thing I did not do is I did not pour the big patios and walkways. I formed them and then I hired that out. I still do that to this day. But overall, we were able to put in a front yard and a backyard landscape, and those costs when entering into a new home purchase is something that has to be considered. Nowadays, at least in the California area where I originated, the front yards were generally put in. They were put in a little bit of grass, a tree, and some shrub type of fashion. Or in some cases out there in drought-prone California, it was actually no lawn. It was a bunch of shrubs put in not the best fashion. And I can remember driving through a few of those neighborhoods going, oh my God, what are these yards gonna look like in 5 years? Because they would have been a jungle. They looked good when they're brand new. They got that new mulch look, the little baby plant look. 5 years, those things would have been monsters. So if you happen to have a new home you're looking at and they have that front yard landscape, kind of scrutinize what plant selection they used. You can have a loropetalum that grows this tall, or you can have a loropetalum that looks like this in your front yard next to your foundation. Check that thing out. Holy crap, 12 feet of loropetalum at my front window? I don't think so. So be scrupulous, even if it's a builder installed front yard. Okay, moving on to number 1. This is the one that I have seen cause the biggest problems for homeowners, the most costly damage for homeowners. And I want you to pay very close attention if you have any inkling that this number 1 problem exists. Can anybody guess it? Yep, some of you got it. Water and drainage. Water and drainage does the most damage to people's property and dwelling every single year. Are you looking at a piece of property that has signs of ponding, water stain on the bottom of siding, high water marks on the patio? Does the place have a drainage system? And if it does it work correctly? I'll guarantee you just about every seller and seller's agent is going, oh yeah, they just went through it and checked it. Everything's working great. Yeah, okay, do your own due diligence. There's nothing worse than moving in September and all of a sudden you have the rain from hell come the end of November and you've got a flooded backyard. You've got water creeping up your patio towards your slider, which comes from an actual story of a job that I did. They actually had water coming up and was 1.5 inches before it would have come in the family room slider. They had to run to United Rentals and get a sump pump and pump stuff out just to stay ahead of it because they didn't check. They didn't check and everything was A-OK according to the home inspector. Yeah, do your own due diligence. Water damage comes from a couple of places. It comes from slope and grade entering into your property. It comes from roof runoff and downspouts that go nowhere and just start flooding your side yard, your backyard, your front yard. And it comes from gutterless roof lines where water pours off your roof and goes right down to the foundation of your house. It starts flooding there and then it can weep its way down the foundation, get into basements. It can destabilize foundations. Water can be your best friend. We all need it in some parts of our life, but water unwanted can really cause problems. We don't want dry rot at our foundation mud sills and stuff like that from splashing water coming off a roof line. So pay particular attention to water. Make sure you have a home inspection and make sure, even if you have to call a guy out like me, check the drainage system if one exists. Make sure it works. If there's a sump system, make sure it's checked. Both exterior sumps and basement sumps. Cover your butt. Cover it with a nice warm warranty and cloak it in Kevlar so that your ass is covered as a new homeowner. Hey, what do you think about the top 5? Probably should pay attention to some of those along the escrow route, don't you think? If you'd like to sharpen up your DIY landscaping skills, hey, I got a little something for you. Hey, I've got a new website, youryardcoach.com. On there, I only have 2 products, and probably will only have 2 products for quite some time. One is a very inexpensive ebook called Landscaping Simplified. The other is our flagship, our DIY landscape educational digital course. It's called Homescape 1.0. You can find them both on the website. No pressure here, but if you really want to ramp up that DIY landscape educational curve, check those out when you got some spare time. I would greatly appreciate it. It goes to help bring you more videos like this. Hey, I'm Matt. You can call me Coach. I will catch you next Friday. I hope you got something out of this. Drop a comment below if you'd like to hear a particular topic of your own. I love to hear from you. I'm getting some really good questions lately, and some of those are going to be on the channel here very, very soon. Hey, guys, till next Friday, you guys take care. Thank you.